Hi, Jake here with Action for Liberty. Thanks for tuning into the show where we expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media. I think we got a good show in store for you. Let's see here. First of all, we're going to be interviewing Senate Candidate Stephen Lowell, who is actually getting a lot of national media for his comments in a speech. And they're saying he's calling for violence. So we'll let you decide on that one. Then we'll be talking with restaurant owner Greg Urban, a good patriot, who is abandoning Minneapolis for, let me guess, let's see here, in the Republican-controlled Minneapolis, right? Yeah. Democrat-controlled Minneapolis. Violence is out of control. He's leaving Minneapolis for Florida and Texas, putting more in on his businesses there. Then we're going to be previewing our Minnesota State Fair operations. You can see this awesome spin the wheel behind me. And then we're going to do our famous Stump the Trump segment. So joining me in studio today is none other than MAGA Jesse. How you doing, Jesse?
Doing perfect, Jake. Good to be with you. I got my new Trump shirt on. It's Sons of Trump, the MAGA chapter.
Get a zoom in on that real quick. I'm a member of the
Sons of Trump MAGA chapter, and I 100% am excited to be here. I think that we have, like you said, Jake, a great show because we're going to be talking about the things that are important within our state. We're going to be talking to people who are on the front lines of taking on these issues. So I'm very excited to talk with Stephen and Greg today. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. That's a cool shirt. By the way, I was real excited to see Dale gave that to you. I thought it didn't have sleeves, and if I got to admit, I'm a little upset that you have sleeves on that thing. I think it was a cutoff.
You know, it would look good pretty good sleeveless. So maybe it's something to think about.
There you go.
Next episode.
That's easy. That's easy to fix. Snip, snip. All right. Also joining us is young William in the control room. How you doing, William? Bridget took this scene back.
Finally.
Look at that, Bridget.
You're right.
It's really not that tough, guys. You act like I'm going to introduce you on the show, and every time you get it wrong. But in this case, we actually wanted to see Bridget. We didn't need you, William. So we got William, we got Bridget, and maybe our big Viking, Noah, at some point will be joining us as well in studio. I am sad to bring this news, but Liberty Longbeard will not be here today. They ran out of boned-in wings, and he will not do boneless wings. So, unfortunately, we do not have Liberty Longbeard joining us in the studio. But anyhow, we've got great guests. So let's start out with Stephen Lowell, who's joining us via Zoom. Stephen is a Senate candidate in, I think it's Senate District 52, which is Eagan and Burnsville. They just redistricted it. I know it used to be 51, so now I believe it's Senate District 52. How you doing, Stephen?
Living the dream, Jake. Living the dream.
Did I get the Senate District correct? Is it 52?
It is 52.
Okay, and that is all of Eagan and then a little bit of Burnsville?
It is Eagan for the vast majority. There's a little bit of Eagan that's not in it. So it is Eagan for the most part, a little bit of Burnsville, a chunk of Mendota Heights, Mendota, and 4 houses in Lilydale.
Gotcha. All right, let's just get right into it here. You've gotten national headlines, national media coverage of the thing you supposedly said. So let's just look right away. Dawson, pull up the NBC headline here. This is, NBC. Is there a good acronym for NBC? You probably know, Jesse. Do they have one? CNN's Clinton News Network. That's what I used to say. Whatever NBC is. Democrats blast Minnesota GOP candidates vote with bullets remarks. Quote, right? Vote with bullets remarks. Then we also got from the New York Post. Here's a comment. Oh, that's too zoomed in there. Can we not see that? What's that say, Dawson?
It says Minnesota GOP polls. Stephen Lowell said people might have to vote by bullets.
Vote by bullets. Okay, so you see the narrative they're starting to create. Do we have the video ready to go of that thing? So let's go. So Stephen, before we even talk about this in detail, let's show the evidence they have on that you're calling for, basically spraying bullets to solve political issues.
We got to remember, we got to never, ever, ever forget the kind of damage the Viceroy up at the House did to this nice patch of land, small town Minnesota, and we need to grow our teeth back fast. So part of those teeth in this particular set of terms is voting with a ballot before we have to vote with bullets. Because at the end of the day, when people don't believe that their elections are stable, they don't believe that police can protect them, they stop using the democratic, of any kind of method. We are a democratically elected constitutional republic, for anybody confused by that. But people stop using that particular method when it looks like it's too corrupt to work. If it's too corrupt to work, nobody wants to participate. Who wants to participate in a game that seems like you're just going to lose it? And so we have to bring back that faith, and we have to come out and vote. We have to vote just like they're throwing Molotovs up in Uptown. We have to vote just like they burned down
All
buildings.
right, Stephen, what did you mean by that?
It's a statement about society. It's a statement about stability. We've seen, historically speaking, how nations, when they're very upset about their government, when they don't believe their government has their best interests at heart, when they don't believe their choices have any effect on the way the state, which is the societally authorized usage of force against its own citizens, represents their interests, things get very unstable. It's very concerning, and it's something we should work very hard to avoid. Now, it's hard to tell people to avoid something if you can't say what they're supposed to avoid. So you have to tell people stoves are hot. You have to tell people that traffic is dangerous, don't step into it. And you have to remind people that countries stop basically being countries if people don't truly believe their votes matter. And if there's a bunch of concern, I don't care if it's rhetoric or if it's a real problem, that it has to be addressed one way or the other. It has to be addressed before things start getting really unstable. And we saw instability recently in the 2020 riots. We saw it all over the country, but definitely here in Minnesota. And I never want to see that again. Yeah. So if that means I've got to use colorful language and rousing speeches, I've got to use colorful language and rousing speeches. I don't know what else to really do. And to say that you can't speak about a problem because, you know, the DFL is going to libel you and make a bunch of claims that were never in there. You take 3 words in a near 7-minute speech is what everybody's got their stuff in a bundle over. And what does that even really mean? You're pulling 3 words out of somebody's sentence and you're making a whole book about it.
Yeah, but you know, I watch that clip, and most people will read the clip, they'll read the headlines, and that's what they know, and that's why they do what they do. And I go, you know what that sounds like to me? A student of history. Or someone astute to how the world works. Because, by the way, America is very unique. We do not settle politics at the end of a barrel or the edge of a sword, like most of the world and like most of history. And so it's like, yes, you can't lose faith in the political process, elections. Otherwise, we're going to resort to the same thing that's happened throughout history and resort to the same thing that's happening literally today in most, is it most of the world? It's probably most of the world. It's certainly a large segment of the world. North Korea, China in large degree, a lot of the Middle East, all those awful countries and near Russia, and maybe Russia in particular as well. Who knows? So it's like you watch that and you go, that is a factual statement. Do you think what you're saying is factual, Stephen?
I believe that it's factual in the sense that we use a lot of idioms in English, and that's how we get ideas across. An idiom is something that isn't taken literally. It was not a literal statement. It was a very true statement. It was a statement of historical fact and a reflection upon that history and then applied to current events. And a similar phrase has been used by people like Frederick Douglass, a famous abolitionist, Malcolm X. And granted, they all use that phrase in a different way with different words, but it's a similar concept. The idea that there are serious consequences on a societal level, on a large scale, for people being fearful that either one side's cheating or there's so much corruption that you just can't get represented. Even if you vote, won't matter. Like those are really important problems. And every time somebody brings it up, they get shrieked at. And that's like, you know, got to stop it.
Yeah, before we started our live show, Jesse looks at me and goes, good luck today, break a leg. I said, oh, whoa, Jesse, you calling for violence on me? How dare you say something like that? I mean, that's how crazy this is. But I don't know how much you've thought about this, Stephen, because, you know, first of all, we should talk about who you are. You're a draftsman by trade. Your introduction to politics is relatively new. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've actually only been registered with a political party in the last 2 years, I think. 2 years ago, I registered as a voter, I believe, with the Republican Party. If I don't quote me on the exact numbers, but it's going to be pretty close to a year or two. And for the most part, I have criticized politics outside of it. But I've recently seen with the 2020 riots and so on that you can't fix a machine from the outside. I don't know how many mechanics anybody knows that fix cars from the outside. Most of them have to reach in to fix them.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so you get drawn into this political process, and now you're getting national headlines. By the way, they recruited you to run for office. You're getting national headlines, and I'm certain, you know, the political class is all abandoning you. And I'm not just talking about the left. I'm thinking the Republican side is probably abandoning you at this point.
Yeah, so I've gotten almost no support from the state party at all whatsoever. The GOP account on Twitter is completely silent on the topic, and for the most part, the party has sort of dived away from me like a live hand grenade, and that's really not the most encouraging thing ever. I could certainly say that. I think I want to make a distinction because a lot of Minnesotans who are not political activists may not see all of the working parts, and so my BPOU, my basic political operating unit, very supportive. They're great people, and they've been for the most part very good to me. But of course, the state party is a separate entity. Like the BPOUs, they're independent, and so like the state party on the other hand has shown almost no support, if not the exact opposite. I have in fact yet to hear from them at all in any meaningful capacity, and it seems like they're just happy to let the DFL run roughshod over their candidates.
Yeah, and then when you look at those headlines, it's really obvious what's going on here. The Democrats create a narrative and they just run with the narrative. They're friends of the corporate media. Oh, well, let's not do any homework. Let's not be honest about this conversation, which is why this whole show exists in the first place. We're not just going to take the damn talking points of the Democrat Party in Minnesota. We're going to investigate what he said, and what he's saying is actually true. And you believe this, I'm assuming, from what you're saying, that we don't want violence. We don't want this to happen. That's why we must get out there and vote and ensure that there's a fair and decent election taking place, right? Because the alternative, clearly, history and around the world is violence, and we don't want that. Is that an accurate reflection of what you believe?
Absolutely. I want to see a long lifetime of people voting with ballots.
Right.
Mhm.
But
The statement is vote with ballots before, not, vote with the other stuff just because. Like there's a big difference there.
this doesn't work for their narrative. Do you understand? Like, because we have the Democrats, they're scrambling with out of control inflation. And we'll talk about the state fair here. We're talking about all the failures of this awful guy right here and his surplus money that he's holding on. I stole a little bit of surplus money. It was Robin Hood. I'm going to try to give it back to you guys. But there's so many more bags of this. It's unbelievable. But this guy has failed us tremendously. They know this. And Biden, like those approval ratings dropping down to the lowest all time, they know they're going to suffer in this midterm election. So they're scrambling. They're doing two things. They're going big on the abortion issue, which is just a complete lie at this point, where they say it's women's health care. So killing a baby is women's health care. And then their other big thing that they're going all in on is January 6th, the violent right. And I'm thinking, and I know you were on the ground watching these riots unfold, the majority of violence, political violence in this country, is not coming from the right. It's coming from the left. And we're going to have a guest on later talking about the problems of Democrat-controlled Minneapolis and why he's leaving his business there. So it's so interesting that they're going after you. They want this narrative. And you're saying something so factual that it's literally happening right now in Minnesota. What do you think the violent end of BLM is? It is people who don't trust in the political system anymore, right? Antifa, they're people who go about making political change because the system is not working for them. They'll shut down an interstate because the system isn't working. That is literally happening in front of our own eyes, and it seems like all you're doing is articulating that very point.
Yeah, it's that's about the size of it. All I can say is we have an enormous broken societal conversation in this country, and that is, in my personal observation, not my opinion, in my observation, it has already cost us lives. It has already ruined people's livelihoods. It has already people have been murdered. We're breaking murder records in the state of Minnesota, especially Minneapolis, like it's going out of style. And I can't look at that and think to myself, yep, it's all running just fine. Mm-hmm. It's absurd. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse as we vote in political parties that their primary form of political activism in elections is libel and smearing. They don't have good arguments. They don't have good, good plans of attack on their political opponents. They treat their political opponents like the enemy, and then they go and smear them in public. And that's the only play they've got. If that's the only play they've got, they don't deserve your vote.
Right. Quick question for you, Stephen. Now that the spotlight has been cast onto you a lot by the negative fake news that just takes your words out of context, what do you plan to do now that the focus is on you? How do you plan to capitalize on this moment and spread your message?
All I can say is man, when part of that speech, it's such a great speech. Part of that speech was the willingness to forge alliances and make bitter enemies. And apparently I made one. I guess I hit a chord. And I suppose if the DFL wants to send me death threats and print libel about me, I must be the right guy to elect. Because apparently I have these people absolutely terrified that they're going to lose an election. And I don't think they want.
Jesse, I think he might be one-upping you as Minnesota's own Trump. Did you just hear what he said? He's like, it was a great speech, wonderful speech, probably the best speech ever given. And he's got all the enemies in the corporate media. He's like our own Trump here, although you're a libertarian Republican, right? So maybe that doesn't work.
I don't, well, okay. So like my thing on Trump is a complicated one, mostly because the news has made it impossible to have a reasonable public opinion about Trump.
Oh, no.
It's literally impossible. Either you're on the side or you're not, and they're going to crucify you depending on which way you go. So my take on Trump is just, he's a guy. I think he did some good things. I think he did some bad things. I think that, in total, some of the things that he did that were good were really good for the country. And I don't see why people have to hate on him so terribly hard. I also think that the news media, if they're going to be this hard on presidents, need to be this hard on all presidents. Because I think that if the news media treated every president before Trump the way they treated him, we would know so much more about our political machine. We would know so much more about the swamp and the creatures that live in it. But instead, they just do it to the guys they don't like.
So watching them lie about you, then, does that give you like an appreciation of what he had to deal with?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Anybody that goes into the arena, as our gubernatorial candidates have said, anybody that gets into the arena and has a strong voice for truth, has their stuff in a row, knows how to speak, knows how to convey an idea, and understands the heartbeat of the nation or the heartbeat of their region on a particular topic is absolutely going to get the Trump treatment. They're going to get slandered up and down in the media because they don't have the tools to stop you. Because America is in desperate need of local heroism. They're in desperate need of the average person to stand out. We need to stop being represented by millionaire 80-year-old people. And I have nothing against people who are 80 or people who are millionaires. I have the point that is a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of our nation they represent. And that is not a very good representative of the whole. There are very few people who serve that are, just straight up middle class, everyday people who know what it's like to punch a clock, to struggle. We have lots of millionaires. Like my incumbent is a 70-year-old millionaire. I don't know that he has any idea what it's like to build a family in the present climate because he doesn't have to. His kid or kids are grown. His life and his economics are assured. He has none of the concerns of the everyday person trying to pay for gas, trying to buy groceries, trying to keep their kids in school or out of school, and trying to figure out what the school's trying to teach them. Like there's so many thousands of cans of worms here, and none of our representatives are opening those cans of worms, and they need to.
Yeah, exactly. You make some good points there. Another big issue that a lot of people are curious about is omnibus bills. What is your opinion on these 1,000-page bills where special interests and lobbyists push their goals and initiatives into it? What would you do to try to stop them?
Okay, so as a lone senator, I would have relatively little traction to just say, I don't like it, stop that crap, and then whatever, next vote. So I have to be realistic about my level of authority in that particular realm, and it is limited. I'm aware of that, but I do think we need to, and when elected, I am happy to make that a very public conversation. To sit and go through these 1,000-page omnibus bills, I'll open up a YouTube channel and print the entire thing out and be like, all right, guys, let's talk about what these people have decided should be law in this state, and go through it, because the American people, and definitely Minnesotans, need to see these things, because omnibus bills are broadly unconstitutional, in my opinion. They're so complicated. The average American, the average citizen of any state, has no time to go through a 1,000-page bill. No time. Like you to mail 1,000 pages out to every single household in your state and expect those people to read that, to understand what the laws in their state are? Come on. That's absurd.
I mean, clearly, there's Republican senators who were that voted for an omnibus bill that expanded THC, edible THC in Minnesota, and they didn't know it was in there. It's like, oh, that's the problem right there. You guys keep voting for these bills, and you don't read them. Well, we got to move on to our next guest. Stephen, thank you so much. If they want to find out more information about you, where do they go?
I'm most active on Twitter. So at Stephen #4 Senate. on Twitter is probably the fastest way to get a hold of me. I reply back on all of my socials, unless you're sending death threats. Then I document those and I post those to my socials with as much of your personal
Wait, you're the
information as I
violent
can.
one. What are you talking about? Death threats against you? You're the violent one.
Oh yeah, no. Immediately after the DFL's hit piece went live on their page with all of the libel in it, I was receiving death threats, people threatening to kill my family,
Right.
people, like it goes all the way. One of them sent it from their work account. Of
Yeah,
all
I'm
places.
sure they've sent out a press release exposing those people, right?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm waiting on bated breath, holding it.
Exactly.
In fact,
What's your website?
it's Stephen4Senate.com.
Stephen4Senate.com. Thanks very much for joining us, Stephen.
Yep, keep up the
You're
good
very
fight.
welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. All right, we're going to have Greg Urban join us here in studio. Greg actually worked our state fair booth last year. Is a real patriot. He was in the media last, what was it? God, it's amazing how quickly time flies right now, Jesse. We wrote the story about how Minneapolis was instituting a vaccine passport program. I want to say this was January. Is that right, January?
January.
Okay, January. And that didn't last very long. We're going to get into that. But anyhow, Greg, thanks for joining us in studio.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, first time in our set, our brand new set. By
Yeah.
the way, wait till you see the backgrounds that we're putting up in here. We're just like, everything's just slowly crawling along because that's the economy, right? Anyone that builds anything these days knows that. Although, is it that way in Florida?
Well, they move a little faster in Florida, but that's the mindset.
That's the mindset. All right, so tell people about yourself, Wild Greg Saloon. Tell them your various businesses and why we brought you in here today.
Yeah, so I own Wild Greg's Saloon, and we have 4 locations. First one we opened in 2014 in Pensacola, Florida, beautiful city. Then we went a little bit further south in Florida, Lakeland, Florida in 2017. Unfortunately, we went to Minneapolis in 2019, and we'll get to that. And then we have one more location in Austin, Texas that I opened up last year. But yeah, Minneapolis, our last night was Saturday night, and it was a interesting journey. It was uphill both ways, I guess, kind of like when you used to hear how your grandpa would get to school, uphill both ways, and that certainly is what it was.
Well, tell us about that, because you sent me a text last night about your Fox and Friends media hit, which I think was that yesterday that you were on.
We've been on Fox and Friends a few times here. We did a Fox Digital article yesterday. I'll be back on Fox and Friends tomorrow morning.
Okay. And,
Yep.
and of course, that's the mainstream media, so they've got 3-4 minute segments, so they can't really dive into the things. Did a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Just not enough content here. So I really want to dig deep into what actually happened here, because let's just start back to January. You got a vaccine passport program instituted by was it all by Jacob Fry, or was it the city council?
It was
as well?
entirely Jacob Fry,
Okay. Well, of course.
with
They-
backing
they-
of Governor Walz.
Yeah, they always talk about democracy until they're not really for democracy. Isn't
No,
that interesting?
even what I will say, and I mean, not that the Minneapolis City Council is anything special, and Michael Rainville, who was just elected, actually is excellent, but even the council was complaining to the mayor, this isn't right. At some point, the city council does need to have some say. So I mean, even the Minneapolis City Council wasn't totally on board, if that tells you anything.
That does tell you a lot. I mean, well, we want to be the authoritarians. How dare you take away our authority? That's really what it is. Okay, so they institute this passport program back in January. How'd that go for them?
Well, so they instituted the passport program because, of course, following the science, if you want to get a cheeseburger, obviously having a vaccine is very necessary. But so they followed the political science, and I say they, Mayor Fry, what's his name?
Well, I mean, Fry's just instituting the policy. It's got to be enforcers with the city health department.
Well, yeah, the Minneapolis Health Department, and
Yeah.
they're not very friendly. Let me tell you,
Right.
They're his henchmen, and they are not friendly people. In fact, I mean, I was the first person that they fined back in 2020. They saw 4 people standing against a railing, if you can believe that.
How dare they?
And they were going to issue me a closure order because of that. Of course, Walmart now you couldn't find a parking spot at, but
Oh, you mean because they weren't socially distanced?
yeah, if they were going to stand against that railing, they had to be 6 feet apart. So
Oh,
the railing
yeah.
wasn't 24 feet long.
They weren't following the science. Or
Yeah,
Dr.
science.
Anthony Fauci, right?
Yeah.
He is the science, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Anthony Fauci, the science. By the way, The science is retiring. I think it was a Babylon Bee that's saying scientists are scrambling. I don't know what to do now that the science is retiring.
Yo.
Did you know that? Jesse wrote the article yesterday. Actually, you got a different take on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your take on it?
Well, a little bit. I mean, it was interesting that Fauci was not only just retiring, he said that he's going on to the next chapter of his career. And one reason that a lot of people online are saying that Fauci is getting out of here is because the new Congress is going to take over, and we need an investigation into how this virus was created, where it came from, who was funding it. And those are all questions that Dr. Fauci doesn't want to answer. So I think there is something to say about the Republicans taking over, and that's why he doesn't want to be around anymore.
Yeah. By the way, the CDC just updated its guidelines. Have you seen this yet, Greg?
I did, and basically it's almost at this point like Ron DeSantis wrote them.
It is like that. Pull those up, Dawson, real quick. We got it on the screen. This is the new COVID guidelines from the CDC, who've basically fumbled the whole pandemic. First bullet point, those exposed to the virus are no longer required to quarantine. Now, remember, that was a big deal. In fact, just think about the workforce. You've been exposed. You didn't get it. You don't have any symptoms, but you got to pull back and not be part of the economy for a while.
14 days.
14 days, exactly. Then, bullet number 2, which, I mean, hello. Unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people. In other words, CDC admitting the vaccines don't really work, right? All they say at this point is it lessens the symptoms, which even that, I'm skeptical of, but they just basically take away the whole talking points at the beginning of this. And what possible rationale do they have in instituting a passport program like they did in Minneapolis?
Yeah, no, there was none at all. It was clearly following the political science, how can they pick some votes up? But the reality is what happened, KSTP came out with a poll shortly after that was put out, and the reality is what they found is it was a severe miscalculation of the political science. So we had the lawsuit pending, which obviously put pressure on them, and we were in negotiations as to how we could potentially resolve it before a judge would have to rule on it. And then obviously that KSTP poll came out, and once they found out that they didn't quite hit the political science quite right, it went away pretty quick.
Right.
So, but it was there long enough, to do damage. You can't, running a business isn't like flipping a light switch on and off. People get in patterns and habits where they go and things that they do. And, Minneapolis was obviously already struggling. And
I mean, just give us I think I've seen things like down 60% or something like that.
yeah,
Your take on it. At that point in January, how bad was it?
it was bad. It was
Like 50% of what you were pre-pandemic? Or?
it was worse than that. It was far worse than that. We got hit really, really hard in Minneapolis. I mean, the business just never did come back because downtown Minneapolis is dependent on events and conventions, and those aren't happening anymore. Conventions just aren't coming here for many reasons. Events, this was not a popular spot for concerts and things like that because of the new regulations every day and differing regulations. A lot of people just skip Minneapolis on their tours.
Right.
So when you lose that event business downtown, Minneapolis does not have, it's different than maybe other cities and for sure the suburbs where, people are going to go to a restaurant on Friday night, or something like that. Minneapolis is really event driven. And when you take the events out of downtown, you're not left with much.
Right.
And so when they say Minneapolis is down 55% from pre-COVID, there might be some areas in the city when you get up in maybe some of the more residential areas.
Yeah.
Maybe that applies to them, but downtown I can tell you is down in excess of 55%.
Yeah, I don't even think, I'm just trying to think. I don't think I've been, did I do a Twins game last year? I might have done a Twins game last year. By the way, awful experience with little kids, just the security line and the cost of beer and all that stuff. So that might have been the only time I've been downtown since the pandemic.
A lot of people are saying it, and go back to 2019, people go to a Twins game, they'd arrive early, they'd eat downtown, have some drinks, and then they go out after.
Right.
And what you're seeing now is people are getting there, they're going right to the game, and after the game they're going right home because they don't feel safe down there. You know, because you got to remember, and I know that really isn't the subject of what we're talking about here today,
go ahead.
but everything that we're talking about with these mandates and lockdowns that Minneapolis has done, it's being done in the whole context of the public safety issues down there that are causing us to struggle to start with. So, I mean, you kind of get hit down there from every angle right now.
So what made you decide? I mean, we're talking about January. You guys are successful getting rid of the Jacob Fry order to basically show proof of your vaccination, and you don't close down until August of this year. So explain to me, like, what did you have to see? Has it deteriorated worse since then? What led to you actually deciding?
Well, there's a few things. And top of the list is there's leases that you're dealing with. So we didn't have the ability to just walk away, and that's where a lot of the business owners are.
You mean you would have bailed earlier?
We would have got out earlier, but
Gotcha.
you know, we had a lease holding us there.
And thank God it's a lease and not owning property. Can you imagine
well,
that?
you can look at that both ways. You know, the real estate market has been on fire. So you go to Texas, and a building has tripled in value in the last 3 years.
Right, but I mean, like, owning in Minneapolis, I can't imagine it.
You can look at that both ways. You know, leases you're kind of stuck in. You know, if you own the building, you can sell it, and maybe somebody would buy it. Who knows? But it was a tough deal. But it was, you know, trying to navigate our way out of there. And there's been a lot of business owners that are, you know, kind of in that same boat, and we you know, are basically able to resolve that to get out of there. And we came to a deal on Friday evening, and Saturday was our last night. But it was tough because when I opened that location in 2019, it was my best location. It did better than Florida. So, you know, the city council that was there, the whole defund the police city council, in a matter of 2 years, you know, took a city that held my best location and just destroyed it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I've been to downtown Minneapolis many times. There's great bars, you know.
Yeah.
And in fact, Jesse, didn't you go to Wild Bill's?
Yeah, I've been to your place before, Wild Greg's. I have a good time there.
What did I say? Wild Bill's? Wild Greg's.
Yep.
There's a Wild Bill's, right?
There is.
I am sorry. That's probably a big competitor. Well, probably not a big competitor, but
Did you
Wild
ride the
Greg's.
bull?
You know, I didn't ride the bull. I was there for another reason. You had some midget wrestling going on.
Yes.
And I knew that you were my kind of guy. When I see events like that, I'm sure you're probably holding those kind of things in Florida as well. I'd imagine it fits in pretty good crew over
The
there.
Southeast
but,
loves it. The Southeast loves it.
Well, I'm one of your number one fans. I loved it.
Well, we just had it last Sunday.
Oh yeah, that was your
had
last
it.
one.
It was the last one. So we'll see if somebody picks up on it here, or
Yeah, someone's gotta.
I hope so. Not everybody will do that event.
Yeah,
Not everybody will do it.
Right, it's a political correctness thing, but you know,
Yeah.
it's one of those things too where the athletes, they're there to entertain and they're there to have a good time as well. So
Well, I'll
it's
tell you,
not-
those guys are some amazing athletes. You know, everybody thinks it's, you know, all kind of a clown show or something like that, and
Right.
you can say that all you want, but I mean, those guys doing flips and flying through the air. I mean, those are amazing
oh
athletes.
yeah, going through the ring, off the
Yeah.
top rope, you know, right in the crowd. They're a lot of fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Does it surprise any of you guys watching this that Jesse's into pro wrestling? Does that surprise any of you guys? Like, right? You're a big WWE fan.
Oh yeah, you know, and that's part of the reason I love Trump too. It's the theatrics, it's
Yeah.
the fun, you know. And if politics isn't fun, then I don't want to be in it.
Yeah, that's true.
If Trump's around, it's definitely fun. So, and if midget wrestling's around at Wild Greg's, it's definitely fun.
Well, unfortunately, it's gone now because
gone.
they chased you out of town. So the Fox and Friends interview, they were kind of signifying that Minneapolis is a lost cause. By the way, who's in control of Minneapolis? Is it Republican controlled?
When's the last time a Republican has been elected in Minneapolis? Do we even know that?
Oh God, I think it
Like
was
70 years
I
or
think it was
so?
like '07 or something like that.
No,
I don't know. I'm saying 1907, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Long
it's
time.
Yeah. Geez, when did Abe Lincoln start the party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, the segment we had beyond before, which was that like there's this violence on the right side, which is ridiculous. And I think we did a pretty good job. Dawson, you're an impartial observer. Did you buy into the fact that Democrats think that, or that they were right about this violent right? Does that make sense to you?
I think that a lot of people feel like they're right about everything, especially those guys.
I agree. I think they are lying about a lot of things. So that's the narrative they're trying to create. Meanwhile, the political violence clearly is more on the left, and then the enablers of just regular violence is on the left. It's the Democrats. Dawson and I were driving over. God, it wasn't far from here. It was probably about, I don't know, a mile or two. And under the overpass, there's this sign. No, I'm sorry. Spray painted under the overpass said, what was it? You sweep, we strike. Have you seen this? Do you know what that is?
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's the encampments. And if they try to wipe them out or clean the area, then they're going to create create violence.
They're going to attack the city public works employees doing it.
Right. By the way, I was over at Home Depot yesterday, grabbing a couple things, and yeah, big encampment over there. It's insane. Just right in the middle of the day, drugs and all that stuff right there, right off the freeway.
Welcome to Minneapolis.
Exactly. Welcome Minneapolis. Hence why guys like myself with the family and little children don't go there, right? So you saw that firsthand, and you kind of knew this going back to January that you'd want to bail on Minneapolis. So Fox and Friends is highlighting the fact you own these businesses in Florida. What's the environment like there?
Well, Florida really is just an amazing place. I mean, and it goes beyond the beautiful beaches and endless summer, right? Down there, operating a business is so much easier. I mean, just dealing with, in the best of times, dealing with the city of Minneapolis is no treat, let me tell you. I mean, they are not easy to deal with. They're not business friendly. So there's that. But, you know, down in Florida, you have consistency with Ron DeSantis. It's, if you're going to make an investment, which is a significant investment to open a bar or restaurant up,
Right.
that you're going to have certainty that you can operate that business. You're not going to one day supposedly tell people to wear a mask, the next day they got to have a vaccine, the next day they got to be 10 feet apart, the next day you're at 50% capacity.
Right. Next day you're shut down.
It just doesn't work. And the one thing I've tried to figure out, and I even have a koozie that says the sort that I got from DeSantis, is how do you drink a beer with a mask on? I mean, have you tried that? I don't own a mask.
Yeah, I think Jesse and them did that at the Liberty House, right? Did you guys try that?
Yeah, you know, it's like waterboarding, isn't it?
Why? Hey, that's a good example. I don't.
There's some entertainment at Greg's Saloon.
I don't own a mask, so I can't tell you how that works. But you know, maybe out the state fair, maybe we can try it. It can be
there you go.
Something where, you know, try drinking a beer. I got plenty of beer. I can supply it if we can get it in.
Yeah, we'll find the masks.
We'll find. Yeah,
Where do you get them? I don't know.
I'm sure they'll be handing them out. Maybe the DFL booth will have some.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
guarantee it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we should plant those my governors and idiot masks. Have you seen those ones? Or just wear these hats. Walls failed. You're working the booth this year, aren't you? Aren't you volunteering?
Well, they haven't got. I worked it last year. They haven't got me signed up yet.
Bridget, have you not talked to Greg? Listen, she's
Sorry.
She's nowhere to be found now. She's
I
back.
was distracted looking at comments because someone said time to use Rumble, not YouTube. So I don't know if something happened.
Isn't that hilarious? No, they're just making a political statement, which I agree with, by the way. We'll be on Rumble. We have to build audiences in many different platforms because you never know where the cancellation that will inevitably ensue will come from. So we'll be building that Rumble audience here really soon because we're going to be branding the show and building some sets. So that's when we're going to switch over. But Bridget, that was a classic dodge. Did you see that? I had that point question for her, and she just like, oh, well, let's go read the comments. What other comments are I missing? I'm totally forgetting about this. Are there any other comments?
There's one that I was gonna. There's quite a few actually, but one that I would throw in at the end. Leslie commented about her still being involved in Minnesota, and I was gonna rope her into a shift at the state fair. Hopefully.
Okay, you should do that.
I know.
All right. Well, you will be at the fair at least one day. And
I
by
hope
the way,
so. That was, you know, I think that was the most fun I had. When you think back every summer, you know, what was the most fun thing? And I think I did a couple nights out there last year, and I had so much fun. That was tremendous, and we gave away a lot of dump walls, T-shirts, and a lot of fun.
This is going to be insane. So pull up that picture, Dawson, of the haul that we have for. So we took a shot like it's a cocaine seizure. There's Jesse, Mega Jesse, with her whole haul. You see in the front row? Those are all backpacks. Let's see. What did I do with this thing? Put it somewhere in here. Here we go. Show this here, Dawson. It's the walls failed one like that. And we're partnered with Freedom Club, which has spearheaded this effort. Walls failed, because we definitely agree with that. Walls failed fans. 20,000 of these. Go back to that picture. There's like 20,000 boxes of just these. You see all those in the background? On top of that, we got this hat, Walls failed. We got our Dump Walls t-shirts. I don't even know where it is. All you got to do, show right here. You got to just spin the wheel. Where did our big Viking go? Hey, I need that big Viking. Bring on Noah in here to spin that wheel for us. These are real first world problems, by the way. Bridget and I scramble on, was it Friday, Bridget? Like, we realized we have so much stuff we got to give away. We got to manipulate the spin the wheel so that there's more win spots. So you see these red spots? Those are actually the win spots because we got too much. I don't know if we'll even be giving it all away.
Well, maybe in the off chance that there's a little bit left, maybe we could hand out some Walls Failed gear down in front of the 3rd precinct.
That is a damn good idea of a video. No, why don't you come here and be my Vanna White? So here we go. We got the spin wheel. Now, don't give it the whole spin because you'll probably, I don't have it on the best platform. But you see here, we got all the things that he's failed on. The win spots are the good things. So stop the mandate. That's the one there. And we got, go ahead and give it a light spin. Yes, that was very good, Vanna White. There you go. Crush businesses. Do you know something about that, Greg?
I know a lot about that.
Lawless City. You can stop the mandate, or you get the big prize. You get the Dump Walls shirt. It's with Never Again. All you got to do is swing by our booth, either sign the Never Again petition or stop the Give It Back petition. Speaking of giving it back, Jesse and Noah, did I tell you guys about that we actually have Tim Walls working our booth this year?
Really?
So
Tim Walls himself.
This is the actual money bag. This is, guys, this is a fraction of your surplus right here. Dawson said you get off the screen here. You're getting rid of this weird floral pattern coming up. Why don't you just join us? Pop up a seat, just like you did last week. Yeah, we can roll with the punches here. That's what we do. We add a second row when the stuff gets really interesting, Greg.
Happy to be here.
Yes, and we got a microphone for him this week too. People were like, "Oh, we couldn't hear those guys." I was like, "It's just Noah. Who cares?" And people are like, "I like him. I like Noah." I'm like, "Noah? Really? This is the guy? The import from California?" Which, by the way, Greg, you're leaving Minnesota. He's actually coming to Minnesota because he comes from California.
I mean, here's what I've seen, through the whole COVID is Minnesota tended to be about 1 week behind California. They shut their businesses down. We're a week behind. They do a mandate. We're a week behind. That's kind of what I saw. Did you notice that?
Yeah, because these Democrat governors, there's like this coalition of them,
right?
And they all are doing the same thing. They're trusting the science, which is Dr. Anthony Fauci. In case you didn't know that, he is the science, and he's retiring, unfortunately, or very fortunately, he's retiring. Although honestly, it's just one of those bureaucrats. We're just going to replace with another guy like him. So here we go. We got in this bag, by the way. This is a portion of your surplus money. Isn't that crazy? And we're going to be bringing it to the state fair booth. All these hundreds that Tim Walls has stolen from you. And Tim Walls will be joining us at the state fair booth. Yes, he'll be wearing his thief costume, of course, because he is holding on to your surplus and not giving it back. Why is that not standing up there? Okay, there we go. He's going to be holding on to your surplus money, $4,000. By the way, if you do it in proportion to how much people pay in taxes, I think Greg's getting a little bit more back than the average guy, and you deserve it back because, quite frankly, you're the backbone of this economy, small businesses. And this is why, let's put it this way. You got good reasons for leaving, but the tax climate alone between Florida and here, right?
Well, it's significantly different. Remember, Florida doesn't have an income tax. So,
neither does Texas, right?
If everybody out there, when they get done shoveling their driveway in January, and then, then they look at their pay stub and they see that line for Minnesota state tax, in Florida, that would be your money. Mm-hmm. Florida is really excellent. The other thing about particularly Minneapolis is their sales tax rate. They have the highest, it's my understanding it's the highest sales tax rate in the whole country because there's a lot of Minneapolis specific sales taxes. So when you buy a beer for $5, about 15% of that goes to the city, the sales tax, a good portion to the city of Minneapolis. So, that alone, the tax climate down there, then on top of all the higher minimum wages and all of that, it is really tough to run a business down there. You need to be doing some big volume, and absent events, you're not going to do big volume.
Right.
And maybe I went there the wrong time of year, but I don't think you have to shovel your driveway in Florida either. I think that's more of a Minnesota thing.
Well, another thing is...
It's called a joke there, Mr. Christian Anarchist, but okay.
Down in Florida, they view salt much different too. Here in Minnesota, it's something that you use on the roads and to keep from crashing.
Yeah.
In Florida, it has a lot to do with the rim of a margarita glass. So
we got to have him back in studio. Look at that. We got jokes. Well, do you mind sticking around? We got to go to our last segment of the day, which is called Stump the Trump. That's where we try to stump Jesse, because Jesse's Minnesota's biggest Trump fan. He's actually from Idaho originally. Actually, your family's from northern Minnesota. So
Right.
You are.
I consider both Idaho and Minnesota both my home states.
Well, there you go. So, Stump or Trump, it's where you try to stump him on something related to Trump. And I got to admit, I think Jesse's like 6-0 right now. He's done a pretty good job defending it. William, you can join us. Noah, anyone want to start out? Because I got a good one for you. It's not much of a stump.
Yeah, go ahead. Start
All right,
out.
So here's what I think, Jesse. This FBI raid on Donald Trump. They're alleging he's got classified information. The FBI's basically admitted he's got like 300 documents of classified information. And I think about it, like, what's the classified information? You know what's classified? JFK files are classified. They're still classified 50 some years later. Why? Because Biden wouldn't declassify these things. The president has the ability to declassify it. And my question is are the documents that Trump took and that they would go this outrageous step and raid the former president's home because he's got the secrets that really should be known by the public? By the way, top secret means that it would cause grave danger to the United States. What on earth is a grave danger in the JFK files? Why on earth are they keeping those sealed? That's my theory. Have you thought that one through, Jesse?
That would be really interesting, but I don't know if I necessarily believe that any of these documents that he's holding on to are top secret or that they're supposed to remain confidential. It would be an amazing scenario if he's actually holding on to the JFK files. But what I think, but also if he was holding on to the JFK files, the media and the FBI would not allow it to be exposed. They wouldn't want any of this to be shown. So what they would do is just, they wouldn't make such a public scene to grab those documents at least. So it's interesting. I don't know what they're, nobody knows what documents they actually want. Nobody knows any of the information. We haven't even seen the warrant that allowed them to search Mar-a-Lago. So there's lots of questions to be asked, but
Jesse, in fairness, I think you need to be more loyal to the foil on this one. I seem like I'm the one wearing the foil hat.
I'd love it. I'd love it if
but
it's true.
Doesn't this make sense? Because like of all the presidents, all the political figures, the guy that would actually release the things that we really care about, like the JFK files, what the hell are these? Yeah, 9/11. In fact, there was a really interesting comment Trump made. Was it at the live golf event or something like that? But we don't know.
The Saudi Arabian golf thing, I had seen that too, where Donald Trump said that we still don't have all the answers, questions answered with 9/11. And if he's willing to say that, that takes some balls to say as a president. So
my question to you then is he going to release information that's classified? Because it's great if he does it. I mean, it would be beloved if it's information that's been withheld by the public.
Right, that should not
people
be
that don't
classified.
know this. I know. I had a top secret clearance when I was in the military. There's a lot of propaganda in the classified realm, and a lot of things are overclassified. What on earth in the JFK files still needs to be classified? It's 50 years later. It's not causing grave danger to the United States. There's a lot of other things out there. Trump seems to be the guy that would actually expose this, and he'd be beloved by the people. So is Donald Trump doing that? Is that what the case is? And they realize he's got it, and he's going to do it. We better go get it.
I hope so. I don't know what documents he has, and I still don't even believe that he maybe even has these documents. So,
of course, if you knew what documents he had, you would say that.
He gets to choose when he exposes it. The time will come. It's probably going to be after he gets reelected. So just be patient, Jake. Be patient.
I'll be
it's
patient.
coming.
And when is he going to announce?
Tomorrow. I don't know. It could be any day. I still don't know. I think the sooner the better, as I say. So, but we also had some other interesting things pop up. We know that there's some interesting elections going on today in New York and Florida, and there were lots of people who enjoyed seeing what Trump was saying on Truth Social, where he was endorsing these Democrats like AOC and Carolyn Maloney. And I gave them to Dawson. If you want to pull either of those up there,
I
just
gotta see this.
Absolutely hilarious.
He did endorse AOC. I think,
Of
I
course.
think someone said that to me. What do we got here? Well, first
So
of all,
this is for-
Carolyn Maloney. Explain who she is.
Yep. So Carolyn Maloney.
Wait, William, you do that.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Inside joke.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Who's Karen Maloney?
So Carolyn Maloney is someone who is running against Jerry Nadler. There is another individual, Patel, who is also in this race. But so there's 3 or 4 Democrats that are running. Jerry Nadler, of course, we all know who that is.
Okay, hold on. First of all, this is such a fantastic show. I don't know who Carolyn Maloney is. She's running a Democrat primary.
She's just another.
Of course, she
establishment
hasn't said
Democrat.
kind of wonderful things about him. I always said terrific things about me and will support me no matter what I do, just as I support her very on. She begged for a check with no quid pro quo, and I gave it to her. I gave her. Oh my God.
And
Oh, that's so good. Like, that's comedic, man. That is a good troll.
yeah, absolutely. And Donald Trump also even says somewhere within there that Carolyn Maloney is the man for the job. She is the best man for the job.
Oh,
And
Karen Maloney is the better man. That's halfway down that second one.
she's the better man. She's the better man against Jerry Nadler. So, Dawson, go ahead and pull up some of those Jerry Nadler pictures, just so in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know who this guy is.
God.
He's that little troll in the middle there.
Yeah, he's the guy that shit his pants on live TV. In case you didn't know that, you can watch it as a press conference.
Look at that.
That's not really true. Is that really
That's
him?
probably edited, but we'll say.
But
it's
yeah, he
real.
does hike up his pants. Please, that's
that
got to be
wasn't-
edited.
And that
I
one's
doubt
real.
that one's edited.
That one's real. Can you believe that?
Can you go back one?
Go back one.
Was that twerking man at the parade on Hennepin Avenue where Walls was at a couple months ago?
I don't know what video you're talking about. I have got something to watch. What do you have to say, Noah?
Maybe it makes him feel safe. I don't know. It's like a suit of armor. It makes
Yeah,
him feel nice
but-
and secure.
Well, if he just got pulled up a little bit more and he's got a mask, right? Because they save lives.
He's like
according
a
to Kurt
turtle.
Dowd.
Maybe Nadler is like a new form of turtle we haven't gotten discovered yet. We got to
Oh.
get Nate Wiesenberg on it. He's just trying to go into his shell.
Yeah,
Oh,
Nate
sure.
Wiesenberg, senator to be and wildlife biologist for all the haters who didn't believe he had that job.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah, he might be a different species. Now go back to that one where he's sitting down. Was that your last photo of
Yeah, those
Nadler?
are the 3 photos of him.
Okay, look at that one sitting down because I don't think that one's doctored. That guy literally hikes up his pants. I mean, he's crazy. This guy, I'm serious. He shit his pants. You know what I'm talking about. You saw that, right?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, if I would have known you were going to bring up Nadler, I would have definitely had that video.
Oh,
he
yeah.
shat his pants on TV in a press conference, and they just kind of rolled with the punch. But those with kids, and
When they're hiked that
What
high
do you
up, you're
do?
cruising for a bruising. It's just the way it goes.
well, you can't be. Oh, look how violent you are. I can't believe on the show talking about violence, and you would say cruising for a bruising.
Yep.
Because you can't say any of that.
At least
You know,
you're-
Jesse said I should break a leg on set, and he's calling for violence against me.
Yep.
At least you're cruising.
Yeah.
And I am a Viking, pillaging and whatnot's in my blood. I can't really help it.
That's right. You can't. Yeah.
It's natural.
He identifies as a Viking, folks. He can't help it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So
But yeah, Trump,
where's the
he's-
AOC tweet? I
Yeah,
wanna
and
see this.
in the AOC one as well. So Trump's having fun with these endorsements. He's and I'm not sure what he's actually trying to do. If he actually is trying to help Carolyn Maloney beat Jerry Nadler. I know that he doesn't like Jerry Nadler. He said, when I was a businessman in New York City and a developer, I had one problem, one congressman who was always giving me a hard time, Jerry Nadler. I decided I'm going to run for president. Decades later, who's still in office causing me problems? Jerry Nadler. So I think today might be a huge day. I'm not sure if Jerry Nadler will go. I know I'd love to see it, and
So that's tonight, huh?
that's tonight, and that's going to be a big one. And
Well, what's the polling say? And by the way, do we have this AOC? Do
the
have that?
polling shows Jerry Nadler will beat Carolyn Maloney.
Oh, rats.
So we're going. But
Well, the
you
Trump-
never know. You
The
never
Trump
know.
endorsement's got to sink her shot, right? I guess.
She denied it right away. She
Oh, of
said
course.
she put out a couple of tweets that say, he thinks he's a joker. It's like, of course he is.
I mean, look, a
And,
man.
yeah, go ahead.
A man who looks like that, who has the last name Nadler, mind you, could only succeed in the world of New York politics.
Well, listen. First of all, how is Nancy Pelosi the Speaker of the House? She's crazy. Like, she wouldn't. If she got invited to a party, people are like, "What is this person real?" And then Mitch McConnell on the Republican side, like, these are not normal human beings, but they survive and they do well in politics. They thrive. It's like, this is bizarre. Politics. is so-
Californians just have a soft spot for their drunken aunt. They just really do.
That's very true. All right, let's pull up this AOC. I almost said tweet. He doesn't tweet because he can't tweet.
Yep, not allowed anymore.
AOC, who Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who some call AOC for short, and I love the little information that he gives us, is again running for Congress, New York 14, and I'm thrilled to give her my endorsement. Even though every one of her ideas, such as the Green New Deal, are terrible and would be a disaster for America. We should have William do his Trump impression while he does
Yo.
this. AOC is the greatest addition to Congress. We need a few more AOCs in Congress, if we're being completely honest. That is, and I actually believe he believes that too, because she's so easy to go. Oh, what did he say here? Many people are saying that she should consider going blonde. And after seeing that picture, I have to agree. Oh my God. Take it from me, Alexandria. Blondes have more fun. The level of troll on that.
It's unbelievable.
That is so, that last line. Like, he's already done a good job, and then he throws that puppy in.
Yup. And you know, if I was him, it's exactly what I would be doing too, just having fun. And this is after the FBI raid. This guy doesn't care. He is having so much fun, and he's not going to let anybody stop him. And it doesn't matter if the world's against him. He's still going to, you know, make people laugh. So it's it was hilarious to see what was going on there. And let's see if his endorsements come out on top tonight.
All right. Do you guys have any other parts of the Stump Trump here before we sign off for the day? Noah?
Stump Trump. Why hasn't your boy Trump endorsed the Real Liberty option in the race down in Florida, Anthony Sabatini, a Real Liberty candidate? Why I'm wearing our nice floral shirt today is in honor of him running against a total carpetbagger rhino. And Trump needs to endorse. I think he's scared because it's a 9-way primary, but Trump's a bold man, right? He's a Manhattan.
Oh, he went on a limb with
billionaire.
AOC, so yeah.
He was endorsed AOC. He should be able to. He should be willing to endorse Anthony Sabatini.
If you endorse AOC, you must endorse Sabatini.
Yup. Well, no, that's a good point, and I'll say that that's a fair thing to say because Anthony Sabatini, of course, as I followed him as well in Florida, it looks like he's going to do a good job, and I'm hoping that he comes out on top tonight in the primary. But you know, there's obviously situations where Donald Trump looks at these primaries, all of the candidates want his endorsement, and he actually can probably get along with a few of the different people there. So if he doesn't have a for sure person who is going to win the primary, he likes the wins, he likes the W's, he likes to make sure that his person is the one who comes out on top. If he can't predict exactly how this race is going to go, why would he stick his neck on the line? Not for anybody but himself. So
God forbid he has a principle to stand for. Ooh.
Well, yeah, but Jesse did answer the question from a tactical position. I thought he was just going to go blah, 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 4D chess, blah, blah, blah. That's usually their answer, but that was pretty good. I don't think we award any points in that. I think Jesse still gets that round. Is that right? We'll have official scoreboard. William, you got anything for Jesse here this week before we sign off?
We'll get him in.
I thought he was going to join the set too. I guess not.
Sorry, just getting my headphones on here. I didn't prepare a question for Stump the Trump, so you get off this week, Jesse, but next week I'll have something for you. And Minnesotans for Trump on Facebook says, "We love you, Jesse."
No, they didn't.
And I love you guys too.
They are not. I'm not watching the Facebook feed.
They did. They said it.
They did say that?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Look at that smile. Zoom in on that smile there, right there. You can, look at that guy, and he's blushing, he's red.
Oh, yeah,
Someone said he kind of looks like a young Trump. And Jesse...
Maybe I'm a son of Trump, remember? Sons of Trump.
Oh, my God. Do we have any comments we got to respond to before we sign off? Greg, what do you think of the Stump the Trump segment?
I like it.
Yeah?
I like it.
He holds his own, doesn't he?
He does.
Pretty good.
And I agree. He kind of has that look.
Yeah, thank you.
Kind of has that look.
Hey, if you guys, if you want to come out to State Fair, Jesse will be there probably most days, by the way. Actually, do we have our website handy? Because we could, I think, Bridget, we still could use a couple people.
Same thing with Noah as well. If you want to meet Noah as well, he's going to be at the State Fair a lot of the time as well, so you can see all of us there.
Yeah.
Not an easy person to miss. You should be able to find me.
Well, the whole booth isn't hard to miss either. Because I mean, I remember we were out there, and we got a line across the street like the whole time, and we got like the Pronto Pup booth 100 feet away, like 2 people in line. So I mean, just look for like the big group of people, and then the statue of King Walls, or maybe something better this year.
Better, much better.
I haven't even gotten any advance preview or anything.
Unless you came to a training on Saturday, we're not revealing it till tomorrow. So we'll do the big reveal. Look out for our email about the new sign. Do you have our website handy, Dustin? Why don't you pull that up? You can still volunteer. Because we could use some people. No, not that one. It's down. Volunteer for the State Fair. Click on that. You can click on that, and Bridget will reach out to you. We could still use a couple volunteers on Labor Day weekend. And we'll have a lot of staff there. We're doing well on all the other ones, but we like to have upwards of 8 people per shift, a morning and an afternoon shift, just because the demand's so high. So, and you'll get to hang out with MAGA Jesse, our big Viking Noah. Bridget will be out there in the mornings. And then of course Greg will be there one of the days. So once Bridget does her job, right? Gee, she didn't even reach out to you. I can't believe that.
Well, she did. She did. We discussed it. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. We did discuss it. But I don't know if we firmed up a day or days.
Oh, okay. Got it.
We'll get her nailed down.
That would be like the one thing she didn't do well, because she's done a good job. Don't ever let her hear that, all right? It'll go right to her head. That's a joke. It's totally not. She's very humble.
She heard it. I'm sorry.
Totally
Yes.
heard it.
No, but do that with Dawson. Don't tell him he's doing a good job. All right, there you go. We have a good time here at Action for Liberty headquarters. All right. We'll be doing that booth. We got some of the surplus money back, but there's still a lot more to give because this bozo back here. Yeah, go to that website. Tune in next week. We'll actually have a video of the state fair. We'll probably publish it either on Thursday night or Friday morning. We'll have Michelle Even. She's going to be giving you guys a preview of the booth, and then we look forward to seeing you guys at the state fairgrounds. That's all I got for you. We'll see you next week.